We're quickly approaching the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, and this week we got up close and personal with two coast leaders that experienced all Katrina had to offer firsthand.
Yeah, this week I got a chance to speak with Hancock Bank CEO John Hairston and People's Bank President and CEO Cheva Sweatman about how they were able to make it through the nation's worst national disaster personally and professionally.
By the time the hurricane hit, you know, we thought we were pretty well prepared for it, although we certainly never saw a Katrina coming. But I think as we approached that day, thinking that, you know, is it really going to be that bad? Not really appreciating that storm surge was already cooked into our future. You know, I came to the building that night. My wife and I made some food and some cookies and things to bring to what we call the stormtroopers. There were 20 people who decided to ride out the storm in the headquarters building, and we always called those people stormtroopers. And so we brought some food for them, and they were in this boardroom playing video games and whatnot. And I went on the roof to film what the coast looked like, just in case it changed a bit. Our story of Katrina really is a continuance of the company's culture and the answer to the two questions: why do we exist and what do we believe in? By Monday afternoon, we all had really two decisions to make. The first one was, are we going to sit in the corner and feel sorry for ourselves, or are we, as Haley Barbour said, you know, so famously, are we going to hitch up our britches and get to work? The second decision we individually all had to make is how far are we willing to go to make sure we take care of our families, our teams, our companies, our clients, whoever we were in the business of taking care of. We have to decide the storm is not going to get in the way of fulfilling that obligation. When, as you finally emerge from your shelter, you know, this is what you see. You know, your neighborhood is gone. The images that you had kind of grown up seeing, that was the old Marine life, is utterly destroyed. Your church is gone. Your car is gone. You know, this was the bank building from 2 blocks to our south. And, you know, because of the height of the other buildings, you really can't see the magnitude of how many windows. We lost 1,400 windows. This just gets you to the building, right? This is what you see on your way to the office to kind of begin putting everything back together. You see the debris, and the carpets are already turning green. Some of them were green beforehand, but you can see they're getting pretty vivid. And all the various paper has just become paper mache. This is what the offices looked like throughout the building, as you had roofing materials from other buildings in Gulfport. As you go a little further, that's what it looks like. There's actually a mainframe computer system underneath all of that debris. And this was the eastern wall of the data center on the 5th floor. We opened locations on the second day. So by Tuesday, we had branches beginning to open. They didn't have power, they had no technology, they didn't have air conditioning, we didn't have running water or sewage systems working, but people still came in to do their best to take care of communities, knowing we had to get cash in people's hands. And literally we had to set up a laundering operation. So we were a bank that was truly in the money laundering business. A couple of the IT guys wired up some washers and dryers in the only building we had occupiable left in downtown Gulfport, which is under generator power, and learned the art of how you wash and dry money. And we learned that it's a lot harder than you think, because different bills have different constituency. Literally, we took these bags of money and we had to start up an ironing operation. And most of all that money we picked up from different places. We had no opportunity to count it. How do you count money that's all stuck together because it's been in salt water for 12 hours, right? And so you just had to trust people, and it panned out. When people ask me, even here 20 years later, you know, what am I most proud of in my career, I point to those first few weeks after Katrina without any hesitation.
You're worrying about branches and all that stuff, and then you realize, oh, by the way, our house got wiped out. So initially, that is a lot to take in. A lot of people had to deal with that, but, you know, over such a big corporation and those kind of things, all that kind of, I guess, compounded for you, right?
Pretty much so. Our big concern was The house was the last thing to be repaired. I had to get the branches up and running. Until they came back with the cell towers, people weren't being able to communicate. I remember one time I was trying to converse with the Federal Reserve Bank to see if and when we could get cash in, because all of a sudden, people don't realize when the cell towers went down, the credit cards went down. If you weren't able to use an ATM, the next thing that would happen was, well, we would cash you a check if you were a People's Bank customer, and if you'd lost your ID, you know, it didn't matter. We'd cash it for you. That was a risk we were going to take. We also had one other thing that occurred that we hadn't planned for is some people lost their homes and all like that, and about the only possessions that they might have had, some people stick a little cash in a safety deposit box. Well, a lot of our vaults weren't able to be opened because they went underwater. We couldn't open the vault to get in and get the doors open so the people could get into their box, because it was basically the vault was draining.
Was it a deal where you were literally like washing money? I know they did that, you know, like or drying it out.
Not washing money, right. But we were drying it out up on the roof. And what we whatever we had is we would go ahead and get the money there, and we would put a piece of wood on top of it, and we'd put it out in the sunshine. And we would hope that it wasn't a windy day.
Like, how long did you have to live here?
Oh, I was here probably for 3 weeks. Me, Marcia, and Tanner.
Y'all, all three of y'all, huh?
Oh, and Jake the dog for a while.
All three of y'all in here.
That's right. And then my cousin, Lyle Page, you remember Lyle, he moved out. He had a hotel room over in D'Iberville. So he moved out, and he says, I'm moving out. You might want to call him up, see if you can get the room. And I said, yeah, I do. Now, the advantage to being here was I was close to the work, but I was 1.3 miles away from my home. So we'd have the dog, we'd leave the dog in the yard, and then whenever we get a chance in the evening, we would go over there and try and work on the house as best that we could. Things were there, people were trying to recover, you were helping your neighbor. Everybody ate good, because you raided your refrigerators and your freezer, so you ate good for about the first week. After that, you had to worry about where you're going to buy your food supplies. So hopefully, you know, on the north side of I-10, they would have some things that were open. But the problem is, I went into, I think it was Fayard's, and I'd ordered about 115, 20 pounds of meat and stuff like that. I went to pay them, and they said, we're only able to take cash. So I said, okay, let me rather than me give this back to you, let me write an IOU,
a literal IOU,
and I'll come back and I'll pay for it.
That's funny. Yeah, the stories there, amazing for the resilience of the Gulf Coast. We'll have more of that later in the month as we get closer to the anniversary.
That's right, a lot more stories to come on the recovery 20 years after Hurricane Katrina.